What's up? Welcome in. Happy Sunday. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now. Coming up on today's show, does Philadelphia have some Jarvis Landry interest to make him wide receiver 3? More Bijan Robinson draft buzz, but first, some Eagles merch alert. If you're trying to look fresh during this Eagles NFL draft season, Eagles NFL draft hats now available. And I have to say, the style of some of these draft hats over the last couple of years have been kind of somewhat weak. These ones, really nice. Get them right now, chatsports.com/Eagles draft. You have the flat brim hats, but also the dad hat style as well. Let's begin with Jarvis Landry. So there's some buzz out there that the Philadelphia Eagles could show interest in the 30-year-old as a number 3 wide receiver if they're not happy with the lack of development from Quez Watkins. And here's the thing. Even if Philadelphia were to bring in another wide receiver, Quez Watkins can still be on this roster. He is barely making any money for 2023. And to have a vertical threat and a burner, a speed option still on this receiving core, it only means that the receiving room would be a little bit more deeper if you do upgrade wide receiver 3. Then you have Quez Watkins at wide receiver 4. You can insert him into that lineup depending on the matchup, how the defense is playing you. And really, he is a little bit of a game changer if you do have him as a wide receiver 4 because of his ability to take the top off of the defense. Now, Jarvis Landry is a completely different player, more of a possession wide receiver who can play out of the slot. You put him alongside A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, who are two very well-rounded wide receivers and two great athletes. That could open up some avenues for Jarvis Landry to have some mismatches against the opposing defenses, against some bad nickel corners, some slot corners, and against some slower linebackers as well. At 30 years old, he's not the player that he once was, but the pedigree is certainly there. 5-time Pro Bowler from 2015 to 2019, but his last 1,000-yard season coming back in 2019, and injury concerns. A big concern for him. He has missed 13 games over the last 2 years. So again, we go back to Quez Watkins. If Landry's out, then Watkins can hopefully be motivated by the team bringing in another wide receiver if they don't address wide receiver 3 in the NFL draft. And if an injury does happen, then Watkins can slide into that wide receiver 3 role. He's obviously familiar with that. Let's look at Landry's numbers from 2018 to 2021 because it goes to show you the dip in production since that aforementioned 2019 season where he was really good for the Cleveland Browns. 83 catches, 1,100 plus yards, 6 touchdowns, and when he was targeted, 60.1% completion percentage against some DBs out there. And even in 2020, not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. Not a lot of interest for him in the free agency cycle last year. That's why he signed that 1-year deal with New Orleans, and unfortunately for him, quarterback problems, the offense wasn't great, and he couldn't stay healthy. His numbers in 2022, disappointing for what was supposed to be an exciting reunion. He played his college ball at LSU. New Orleans also brought back Tyrann Mathieu to Louisiana as well because he too played at LSU. Honey Badger played well. Jarvis Landry didn't play enough because of the injuries. 25 catches, 272 yards with only 1 touchdown. Now we're only getting started on today's show. If you want year-round and daily coverage of the Philadelphia Eagles, hit that subscribe button right now, and whenever the Eagles make a signing, we'll keep you informed. I am going to Key West starting on Friday. Still going to be giving you content, though, because we're built different. We're on the road to 50,000 subs, and we're less than 7,000 people from getting to that special milestone. Here's the thought with signing Jarvis Landry as we kind of start to summarize this conversation. Quez Watkins has struggled. He hasn't developed at the clip that many people would have liked to have seen ideally. He's had some flashes. He's been a really good training camp player without the pads because of that speed. But last year, among all NFL wide receivers and players, we're talking tight ends as well, Quez Watkins ranked 2nd in the league in failed reception rate. Could Landry be an upgrade, more sure-handed, while also having Watkins on this roster as a speed threat and a guy who really doesn't account toward much on your salary cap? You bring in a player who's an upgrade, and I'm not even sure that Jarvis Landry is an upgrade. I'd almost rather address wide receiver 3 in the NFL draft, and you put him into this receiving core with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and again, Quez Watkins as a number 3 or as a number 4, and you have the makings of a very good offense once again, especially if Jalen Hurts takes that next step, because he has a bevy of weapons at his disposal. Brown was fantastic last year. Smith is a rising star, and once again, you still have that vertical burn speed with Quez Watkins. And here's part of the disappointment that a lot of people have seen from Quez. He gets drafted year 1, doesn't really do a lot, and then in 2021, he has 43 catches for 647 yards. Now, A.J. Brown wasn't on the team, of course. Devontae Smith was the number 1 wideout. At points, Quez Watkins was the number 2, and that's why he had some of this inflamed production, right? But everybody's expecting him to have a pretty good 2022 campaign, and he doesn't. Second in that category that we talked about, at only 33 catches, 354 yards, and against the Bears, against the Cowboys, when Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni tried to get him involved within this offense, he really did fail to rise up to the occasion, and in fact, I thought the offense took a step back when they tried to target him a little bit too much. So with that, today's poll question is this: embrace debate. Let us know down in the comment section, who is the better wide receiver 3? Who would you go with if you're Howie Roseman? Q for Quez, J for Jarvis. Let us know. Now to Bijan Robinson. This is pretty interesting here. Which team will draft Bijan Robinson odds? You have the Commanders, divisional foe, plus 400. Chargers, plus 500. The Dallas Cowboys, little more than 5-1 odds. Another divisional foe, F Dallas. Type it into the comment section. And then you have the Eagles at plus 750. I continue to get more and more intrigued by the idea of drafting Bijan Robinson. Why is that? I think the dude is special. I think he's one of a kind. I think that with his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, line up as a slot wide receiver, run in between the tackles, get out to the perimeter, he can have a Christian McCaffrey type of impact on your offense. Transcendent talent. Great scheme fit with Jalen Hurts because Steve Sarkisian with Texas runs some of the same offensive principles that the Eagles do run. Elite weapon. He's not just a running back. So consider him a weapon at number 10. If the Eagles get him there, you'd have him under team control for 5 years. And if you don't want to re-sign a running back to a second contract, that's fine. We're talking about a Super Bowl window right now that you have to maximize. Bijan can be a win-now, plug-and-play starter. And if you bring him in at number 10, his cap hit in 2023, $4 million. That's really, really affordable. Or base salary, $4 million. Or yeah, cap hit at number 10. Excuse me. Screwing up here. Cap hit at number 10. $4 million. If you do get him at number 30, a cap hit of 2.2. So either way, even if you have to move up to 25, you move up to number 20, cost-controlled player who still helps you stack this roster with the team with some salary cap restrictions. And did Jeffrey Lurie from the NFL owners meetings pretty much point out that this league is moving in an offensive direction and maybe the Eagles could take Bijan at number 10? Look at what Jeffrey Lurie had to say here. Offense is dominating this league, and that's why we've always focused more on resource allocation, on making sure we have an outstanding offense, because it's very hard to stop. It's impossible, given the rules of this league. It maybe started back with us with Andy Reid, but we've always wanted to have a dynamic offense and know that you can have a really good defense, but it's really hard to stop a dynamic offense. And in both of our Super Bowls, either offenses, they weren't stopped very often, and I'll go back 143, one timeout left, let's roll. He's alluding to the fact that if they got the ball back there with 143 left, they could have scored to tie the game or beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But he makes a couple of good points there as we take a look at the Bijan Robinson numbers, and you think about what that impact could be on this Eagles offense. You look at Super Bowl 52. You look at Super Bowl 57. These were shootouts. And it wasn't really a game predicated on defensive play. It was which team is going to outscore the other squad. So if Bijan Robinson is sitting there at number 10 and your draft philosophy is best player available, and you're looking at a guy who at the very least could be a high-level impact player for the next 5 years, fitting the win-now timeline, you're going to be tight against the salary cap by giving Jalen Hurts that contract extension, and you might struggle to have a roster as deep and as talented as the one in 2022. Well, shoot, having Bijan Robinson on that team in a cost-controlled way allows you to pay Jalen Hurts but still have a very, very special weapon on the offensive side of the football and a guy who can run the football but also catch it as well. So with that, let's round out with this. Draft Bijan at number 10. Look, this is coming from a guy who's against the philosophy of taking a running back in the first round because you can get guys for cheap in free agency, a la a Rashad Penny, or later in the draft for basically nothing. Those guys aren't Bijan Robinson, though. So type BJ for Bi-jawn. You see what I did there? They should draft Bijan Robinson for the sole purpose of making Bi-jawn shirts, and we will if that's the case, or O for another player, and let me know what that other player is. Appreciate y'all for watching us here on a Sunday. Maybe it's a Monday for you, and your weeks are getting off to a good start. Either way, we appreciate the support on Eagles Now.